Blog Talk Radio.
Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. Can you believe we're at the end of June? How does this happen? Wherever you are, I hope you're staying cool, and I'm so glad that you are tuning in today. You're in for a huge treat because we're not getting one author. We're getting two today. Super fun. So today we are going to be chatting with Kendra Elliot and Melinda Leigh. You have probably read them before if you're a fan of thrillers, but just in case you have never met them before, I'm going to read their bio here, and then we're going to find out all about Echo Road that they co-wrote together. Super fun. So Kendra Elliot has sold 12 million books. Remember, I said you've probably read them before. She hit the Wall Street Journal top 10 bestseller list more than a dozen times and is a 3-time winner of the Daphne du Maurier Award. She is an International Thriller Writers finalist and also a Romantic Times finalist. She grew up in the lush Pacific Northwest and now spends most of her time on a warm beach wearing flip-flops. You can't blame her, right? And there is a link. I put a link to her website right there on the Blog Talk site if you're listening live, or if you're listening to us later. You can click that anytime and sign up for her newsletter, find out about all her great series. There's so many delicious books there to sink your teeth into and binge read for the summer. So be sure to check that out. And then we also have Melinda Leigh. She is a #1 Amazon charts and #1 Wall Street Journal bestselling author. She has sold over 14 million books. As a fully recovered banker and a lifelong lover of books, she started writing as a way to preserve her sanity while raising kids. That's my backstory as well. We all need an outlet. Melinda's debut novel, She Can Run, was an International Thriller Award finalist, and since then she has garnered numerous writing accolades, including 2 Rita Award nominations and an induction into the New Jersey Romance Writers Hall of Fame. She lives near the beach with her family and 2 spoiled rescue dogs. With such a pleasant life, she has no explanation for the sometimes dark and disturbing nature of her imagination. And you can also find out more about Melinda on her website. I did put a link to her website right there for you as well. So feel free to click that anytime and go sign up for her newsletter. She also has all kinds of amazing thriller books there for you to read. You can find all the links on her website. So, are you guys excited? I am. So without any further delay, are you guys there?
I am here. This is Kendra.
This is Melinda. I'm here too.
Yay. Okay. Well, it's good that you guys are best friends because we are going to be tag teaming you both. So thanks so much for coming on today. So I guess I'll ask Kendra first, what was the inspiration for Echo Road? Because in my research poking around, it appears that you both have main characters from your own series and you brought them together in this book. So whose idea was that?
We've been talking about writing a book with our own characters for a long time. I actually spotted a reference to it 8 years ago that we had come up with the idea, but we couldn't figure out how to make a book work with both characters because my characters are based on the West Coast and Melinda's are on the East Coast. But we were sitting in a conference room one day listening to a speaker, and they presented a real-life case, and we looked at each other and we thought we had the same idea. We're like, kind of setup would work to bring these 2 characters together. And that was about 4 years ago. So we had to wait till we had time to sit down and work together to actually write the book. But we've been talking about the plot for about 4 years. So when it was time to write, we were definitely ready.
I love it. And you have the FBI special agent, and Melinda, you have Bree Taggart, who is a homicide detective, right? Does the book happen with the homicide detective? Is it in your neck of the woods, or is it over in Kendra's?
No, it does take place in, my character is a county sheriff, a female county sheriff in New York, and it takes place in her location.
Okay. So that means that Kendra's is set on the West Coast, right?
Correct. Yeah. And
Okay.
with mine being an FBI agent, that makes it easier for her to move locales. So her case in Oregon, she discovers, is very similar to something that's happening in New York. So she heads to New York, and that's where she meets Melinda's character.
Love it. Do you guys leave, I mean, no spoilers, but do you leave the ending of Echo Road so that your two characters could possibly work together again in the future?
Of course.
We definitely did.
Oh, that's so cool. So I guess, Melinda, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about the Echo Road, story, no spoilers, but of, why they should go grab it? It's coming out next week, right?
It is coming out next week. And I know next Tuesday? What is today? When you work at home, you kind of lose track.
I
Okay,
know.
yes, next week it comes out. Next Tuesday, July 2nd. Well, definitely anyone who has read Kendra's Mercy Kilpatrick series and my Bree Taggart series is definitely going to want to be the first ones to get their hands on this book. And even people who haven't, though, if you haven't read either series, the book is perfectly readable with its own self-contained plot, so there's no worries about needing to read any books beforehand.
Oh, good. I was going to ask about that, if we could just jump in on that book or if we should go back and read the others first.
No, you could definitely jump in on Echo Road. It's its own self-contained story. There's nothing in it that you need to know from previous books. But if you have read the other books, you're really going to love it a little extra.
And as authors, we always secretly hope that when you read this book, you'll go, oh, I need the origin story, and go back to the beginning and read them all, right?
That's right. And there are 8 Bree Taggart books, and I think Mercy has 8 books as well, 6 in her own series, and then
another
1
2
or 2
in another series.
Yes.
Correct.
I love that.
So there's lots of books to read.
Yes. So for all those summer binge reading, you guys are in for a treat. And are there, for, I don't know about for Echo Road, but for your series, are there romance subplots too?
There are definitely a secondary romance plot. The mystery plot is probably the foremost. The romance plot, I know in my series, takes place over the arc of the entire series. Rather than in one individual book. It's a slow burn.
Nice.
Mine is the same way. The characters meet in the first book and things build over the entire series. To me, that's a really important thing to include. Not so much calling it romance, but just the emotional connection between two people and the conflict between two people. I think that really adds to the meat of any story. While they're primarily police procedural, suspense type books, there is that personal element that makes people really connect to the characters in both of our series.
Well, because it makes them more real. In real life, we're not just all work, right?
That's right.
Or at least we hope not.
Yeah,
we try not.
We both built in-depth family situations around our characters, I would say. What's going on in their personal lives is not just as important, but adds to the story as much as the crime that's being committed.
That's right. And even kick-ass women have to juggle, caring for family members and doing their jobs.
For sure. And they deserve some kind of love interest.
Yeah, definitely. You have to have well-rounded characters. They can't just exist in a vacuum. They don't just show up at the police station every morning out of thin air.
Right. So I was going to ask you both, but I guess I'll start with Melinda this time. what was your writing journey like? Because people are always curious, did you always want to write, or did that evolve? And then you guys are both on opposite coasts, but I know from chatting with you that you guys are really good friends. So how did you become a writer and then meet up to have these co-writing adventures?
I began my writing career basically as a dare. I had been a banker. It's true. I had been a banker, so my degree is all in business and finance. And then I stayed home for a couple of years to raise my kids. And once they went to school, my husband started looking at me like, what are you going to do? And I did not want to go back to banking. I was a terrible banker. That was not a good fit for me. So I always was reading, 4 or 5 books a week. And he said to me, you should write a book. You always have your nose stuck in one. And I thought, how hard could that be? And the first one took 2 years to write.
Uh-huh.
So I never actually wrote anything until I was almost 40. It was kind of definitely a secondary career for me. Either that or it took that long to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Sometimes it takes some of us longer.
It did, but I have hit my stride. I've written 28 novels and some number of shorter works that I have lost track of. And Kendra and I met because we share a publisher.
Okay.
So we met at a publishing party, and, we have done marketing promos together and attended conferences together, done some traveling, even internationally. So, we've just come to be best friends over the last dozen years.
I love it. And Kendra, what was your writing journey like? Were you always writing, or did you come to it later too, like Melinda?
It came to me later. I hated writing. High school and college, I did not want to have anything to do with writing.
And then you got a career where you have to write a term paper every day.
That's a good description. But I've always been a really voracious reader. And one day I'd finished a book that I had read for like the 4th time. And I set it down, and I'm like, I feel so good. I just feel so satisfied finishing that book. I wonder if I could make a reader feel that way. So that's when I started writing, and it was my goal was just to write a book, just get it finished. I wasn't even thinking about publication or anything like that. But it was my 3rd book before I finally figured out what I was doing, and that was my first book that sold to a publisher. And I was also in my 40s.
So I love that, because a lot of times our listeners tend to be readers, but a lot of times people, the story you hear over and over is that, I was writing stories as soon as I could hold a pen, and got my first book published when I was 24. And so for the readers who are listening who have been thinking, I don't know, maybe I could write a book, here are 2 amazing authors who did just that, right?
Yeah, I encourage anybody who says, I think I want to try that. I say, go ahead, just sit down, do it. I hadn't taken any courses. I knew nothing about the publishing world when I started. I learned along the way how it works. And I'm glad I did.
Well, Melinda, tell us about the co-writing adventure, because I have had so many authors on the podcast who have co-written, and everyone does it differently. I was telling them before the show, if you listen to Sebastian de Castell, who was on a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about co-writing an entire book in writing sprints where they were both in a Google Doc, writing every 5 minutes, and, leaving, they would serve it up and then they watch the next one take it, and that was wild. But you guys have a different kind of, how do you co-write? What's your process?
So Kendra and I started out doing, we did 2 novella series together, where we would plot several books out, several of the novellas out, and then we would each write a novella, and they would alternate characters. You know, she would write a novella from her character's perspective, and then I would write one from my character's perspective. And we did 20 of those. And then we wanted something different. Again, I think a lot of writers start to feel a little bit burned out. They need a new challenge. They need something different to break up that monotony of just sitting in your office by yourself for 10 hours a day.
Right.
It's a lot of solitude when you're a writer. So we decided we should try to do a single novel together. And we really wanted to bring our 2 characters into one novel. You know, I have Bree Taggart, and she has Mercy Kilpatrick, and we just thought that would be really fun and a unique challenge. And we plotted this book over the course of years, because by the time we figured out what we were going to do, we didn't have time in our calendars. You know, we both have contractual commitments, you know, in personal lives. So it took us years before we could sit down and put a chunk of months together to sit down and write this book. But once we did, it flew so fast. I think we wrote the whole thing in 7 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you guys just swap chapters? Do you alternated, or how did that go?
We each write from the perspective of 2 of the characters. So I wrote Bree Taggart's character, and I'll take credit, I wrote the killer's character. And Kendra did her character and the victim's perspective. And that way it was much easier to keep the voices of each character unique, but also consistent throughout.
I love that. Well, we talked about that you guys kind of left it open that they could do another joint book, but Kendra, what is next for Mercy Kilpatrick? I'm guessing you have a standalone that needs to happen, or what's next?
I have actually written another series since I wrote the Mercy Kilpatrick series. And she pops up in several of those books. Currently, right now, I am working on the first book in another new series. And Melinda and I really want to write another one of these. Mm-hmm. We're trying to figure out a timeline where we both have an opportunity in our schedules to make it work. We aren't 100% sure we will write Bree and Mercy. We have talked about 2 other characters that we both have written a series about, maybe bringing them together somehow. We have also sat down and came up with an entirely new concept, new world, new characters that we could write together. We're real good about coming up with ideas,
right?
Finding the time,
making time to write them,
make it happen. Yeah, and 7 weeks.
Ideas are easy.
Yes.
7 weeks was fast. I don't know if we could do it again that fast. I think because we talked about it for so long, we knew how it should go. We were together a lot of those 7 weeks. We both own homes in Florida that are 10 minutes apart, and so we were able to get together and sit down and write in the same room, essentially, I think, which helped quite a bit.
Fun. Yeah, I know when I go on writing retreat weekends, I always get much more accomplished.
Right?
Something about hearing other people's keyboards going click, 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 and you're like, oh, I better write.
Yeah. I think there's a little subtle Instagram competition.
Yes.
Close all social media. Yeah.
A tiny bit of peer pressure never hurts.
I agree. I really agree.
So, Melinda, what's next for Bree? What's on your plate?
Bree has her 9th book coming out in January, and that's called Track Her Down, and I am currently writing book number 10 in her series.
Oh,
and I think that comes out, I don't remember the day that comes out. Maybe September 25? I think September.
Okay. So Bree is very busy. She has other things coming up.
She does.
Well, she is in New York, so there's lots of people there to work with. Did I get it right? She is in New York, right?
She's in upstate New York.
Okay.
So, yes, there are people there.
Yes. She's not in the big city, but she's still in a populous state.
Yes, and you know, it's funny, my poor characters, but wherever they are located, there is just so much crime.
Right? It's wild. Sometimes those cozy mysteries that happen in a small town, I'm like, why does anyone live in this town?
That's right. Either everyone is either a killer or dead.
Yeah.
We ran into that problem with our novella series, too, because those are both set in small towns. And once you've written 10 individual stories about a town that has a population of, I don't know, 1,000 people, if that.
Right.
Okay. Anyone lived here. Just everyone died.
Yes. Well, and then you also have to wonder at some point in the cozies, you know, why does the baker have to solve all of these? Where are the police?
It's all part of the fun.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You do need to suspend your disbelief. That kind of dovetails right into my next question of why thrillers? Have you guys, is that just what you love to read? I guess I'll hit this one at Melinda first, but what drew you first to start writing thrillers?
I read everything. I read everything from nonfiction to cozies, to thrillers, to occasionally romance. Historical fiction, but I like the process of putting together a thriller, of putting together the mystery, of planting the clues. To me, it's like a giant puzzle piece. And you've got to put every individual piece out so that the reader can bring it all together at the end. So that's the challenge in writing a thriller that I really enjoy.
And what about you, Kendra?
I write in the genre because that's what I love to read. I also read a lot of fantasy. I love historical romance. I love contemporary romance. And when I first sat down to start writing, I was going to write a romance. But people kept dying.
What?
And I got the message that, okay, clearly you are fascinated with creating these horrible death scenes and you like the solving of it. So it kind of, my writing turned more into writing suspense and police procedural type books.
Yeah, you found your voice with the dead.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys back to Echo Road. Did you have any surprises? It sounds like you both kind of plot everything out, but did you get surprised by this book? I guess I'll toss it to Kendra first this time.
I think what surprised us the most was how the story also came about to be about these two women and the friendship they created during this investigation. Because both women are very proficient in their jobs and they're confident. And when they come face to face and discover that they're working on the same thing, they're both very suspicious of the other person. They don't know if they can trust them. They don't know, if they're competent. And it grows through the story. Both our agents were just kind of amazed at what we created with these two women, that their friendship was as much of a storyline as the murders.
I love that. And Melinda, did you feel the same, or did you have were you surprised by that killer that you were writing?
No, we knew who the killer was in the beginning, but we did not know how the end of the book was going to come about. So some of that was a little bit of a surprise. Many of the events that happened in the book just kind of popped up organically. We really didn't, we knew who did it at the end, but we did not plot out the whole book in advance, just a couple chapters at a time. So there were quite a few things that happened. No spoilers. That surprised even us. You know.
Oh, I love that.
Sometimes when I have attempted to plot it, generally doesn't go well, and I end up throwing my outline away after, about 10 chapters and thinking of something better as I go along.
Yeah, me too. I usually find that my characters have a much better plan than what I thought was going to happen, so I'm not a big plotter either. It's trusting them, though. Sometimes I'm like, what is what? But usually they have a much better idea. So when you guys both of you have mentioned being voracious readers, and since our audience is usually readers and we love to add to our TBR list, who do you guys read that get you so fired up that you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get back to the keyboard? Who should we add to our list? I guess I'll put Hurwitz first.
Yes.
Melinda first, then we'll get Kendra's.
Okay.
I'm going to say Greg too. Kendra and I
steal yours.
I am going to steal it because we met Greg together at a library festival, and when a lot of times when I meet a new to me writer, I want to read their books. I want to see what they're all about. So I grabbed his first Orphan X book, and it's just so addicting. It's just like potato chips. You just can't stop with one. You've got to go through the whole series. So that's probably the biggest one. I have read all of those since I met Greg, last year? Last year.
Last year. And I think there's 8 or 11. I don't know how many Orphan X books there are, but they're so good. They're the books that you read and you're like, why can't I write like this? Why didn't I think of this? It's so. He's that frustrating writer.
Yes, who had this genius idea.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think what else. I will always buy anything Harlan Coben writes, Robert Crace,
Lisa Gardner is another big one for me.
Oh yeah,
Lisa Gardner.
Lisa Gardner.
Yes, she's great.
Mm-hmm.
I love those. I also would throw out if you enjoy police procedurals and things, Peter James writes some amazing thrillers for those. And he wrote one that was really fantastic called Absolute Truth, about somebody who a man comes to a reporter with absolute proof that God exists. Wild book. Anyway, highly recommend.
Interesting.
Yes, it was very interesting. What would happen if you had absolute proof? And apparently it makes everyone want to kill you. So.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I had never even considered the concept, but it was a really cool book, and it kind of made sense. I mean, if you found out the absolute proof, there's so many religions out there, and they don't want to be the one that proved not. So anyway, it was a wild book. So to wrap up really quick, let's start with Kendra this time. How can readers get in touch with you after they read the book and they're so excited? Are you on social media?
I'm mainly on Facebook, Kendra Elliot. You can find me there. You can also contact me through my website, kendraelliot.com. Those are usually the best places to find me.
Okay. And what about you, Melinda? Where can they find you?
They can contact me through my website or on Facebook or Instagram. Those are the two places I go to the most. Probably
are you
more
just
than I
Melinda
should.
Leigh? More than you should.
Yes, Melinda Leigh author on Facebook and Instagram. Melinda Leigh one
Melinda
maybe?
Leigh 1?
Yes,
I think
Leigh
so.
1. Believe it
Melinda
or not,
Lee's
the
number
Lees
one.
out there. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on today. It was a blast chatting with you. And everyone, go pre-order Echo Road. It is already zooming up the Amazon charts, and it doesn't come out until next Tuesday. So go pre-order it so that you don't miss it, and it will hit your Kindle first thing Monday night at midnight. Check it out. And if you haven't read their other series, you can jump right in on Echo Road. You won't be lost, and hopefully it will lead you to a binge-reading summer of thrillers. So thanks so much for being here, Kendra and Melinda.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.